This may well be Satan's most ingenious scheme for undermining the belief in the sufficiency of God's Word.
God surrounded himself with archangels. Among them was Lucifer, the bearer of light. Instead of being the paragon of supernatural evil, Satan was a figure against which mere men measured themselves.
They had become convinced that the devil was present.
Modern Satanism. Satan isn't a demon or even a bad angel. He doesn't live in hell.
The presence of Satanism and related activities has surfaced in society.
Modern
Satan was taken up as a hero, an admirable rebel against authority. There was this admirable rebel against authority. An admirable rebel.
The presence of Satanism.
A Satanist priest. I believe somebody that's doing this habitually is influenced by satanic pressures.
Welcome to the Modern Satanism podcast. My name is Reap. I am a priest with the Satanic Temple and also, on occasion, a spokesperson, much to Tom's dismay. Tom, who, you may ask? Exactly. And before I get any farther into this, because I'm kind of pissed off right now, this is like the fourth time I've recorded this, and it's all because of ignorance, and I really don't like that. Anyways, on this podcast, we're going to hear Monika Gottindottir, who's going to share some recommended reading with you by request from a listener, and we're going to be listening to a conversation I had with Madeline, who is first time on the show, first time talking to me, and she was enjoyable to talk to. It was fun. It was a fun conversation with her, so you're going to be hearing that. And you're also going to be hearing two jerk-offs from, what's it called, Godinterest, trying to kind of play off the Pinterest thing. And they're going to be discussing, what else? Christian psychology. So I found it entertaining, and I thought you might. Well, I didn't find it entertaining, but I found it enlightening, I guess, in a sleepy sort of way. So we'll be listening to that. And the main program today, the main event, the clown show, it turns out, will be a conversation I had with Tom Raspotnik. Make sure I get his name. I don't even care if I get his name right, actually. If I sound like being like a little bit disrespectful, it's kind of because I tried to have a conversation with Tom, which you're going to hear in a few minutes. It was a genuine attempt to try and smooth over some of the things that some people aren't getting right. And I'd read some things that Tom had wrote on the internet, and I went, hey, that dude's wrong. Hey, that dude's talking shit. Hey, why can't that dude stop talking shit? I think I'll find out why. So I contacted him and asked him if he'd have a conversation with me, and he said, yeah, he would. So we had a conversation. And then you know what happened? None of the conversation mattered because he goes on talking shit still. And it's, I don't know. I don't want to say he's dumb, but he's kind of dumb based on what I've found out. Let's see, what Potnick? Yeah, I don't know about, but let me see. I had got in contact with him this morning because I was kind of pissed. I already done this podcast, I already had it recorded, and I read this article that he wrote, and I'll talk about that at the end of the podcast. But here's what the conversation I had this morning. He tells me, because I told him, I don't like your post, man. I don't like what you said. I don't like the way you said it. I don't like the way you presented it. It's not fair. It's not right. It's just, So Tom responds with, people like my podcast and article, and I also just like scams. People underestimate my reach to people, offline and online. I'm amazed you saw no points in my article. All of this information comes from a credible source. So I said, credible source? Credible to who? Who is it? He wouldn't tell me who it is. And I have it from a credible source, Lucien Greaves or Doug Mesner, that there is no link to a sex offender and the Satanic Temple. It was some dude who did some stupid shit, and nobody knew about it, and then they found out about it, and what happens sometimes. So fucking get over it. Do I sound like I'm ranting? It's just one of those things that really pisses me off when people refuse to be reasonable, because Tom sounds like a 12-year-old kid who's trying to win a popularity contest at school. But people like my podcast. It doesn't matter. Here's a reality check for you. And Tom, I'm going to be calling you to get your answer on this so that you can answer this shit, because there's so many logical fallacies in your shit. It's amazing. It doesn't matter how many people like your podcast. It doesn't make it factual or accurate or even fair or right. I mean, how can you not understand that just right out of the gate? Why do you have to have somebody explain that to you? You should be embarrassed. You should be ashamed. I have a good mind. Listen, if I hadn't spent so much time listening to it, I wouldn't even play this interview. See, I'm only in the third podcast, and I'm already on a rant. It's doing pretty good. But this has to be addressed, and unfortunately, some people force that to be happening. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to play the podcast. the interview that I did with Tom Raspotnik, and while I'm, I don't know, tonight I'm going to get in contact with him, and if I have to, I'll call him every single podcast and wait for him to answer my questions, because he wants to demand answers from people. I'm going to demand some answers from him, because that's the way it works, and that's the way it's fair. And you know what? He's lucky that I'm not like him, because I'm not going to be coming at him with a bunch of dumb shit, fucking backwards-ass crap. I'll know what I'm talking about when I ask him questions, you know? Unfortunately, he can't show me the same respect. I have to explain every single thing to him like he's a small child. And then he still doesn't get it, as shown in this example. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hello?
How are you?
Hey, Tom. How are you?
Super.
Can you hear me okay?
You guys called me earlier. My phone doesn't always get Skype calls. That's why I was like, I didn't know. I didn't know. Did you try and call me before? Or, I'm sorry.
I know that Skype sometimes just puts a random, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 number on there, and I wouldn't answer that myself if I got a call like that.
Yeah, I know. I get like a lot of people that call me and they ask me questions that I really don't want to answer. Like, you know, I get tired of people calling me from Africa.
Yeah.
A lot of people in Africa are really like, hey, you know, I'm in Africa and I'm going to join a satanic church. I want to join a church and I want to get out of Africa. And I'm like, well, we don't do missionary work there. Until we know you, we're not helping you. We get what it means, stuff.
Yeah.
Because we give back a lot. And like I'll give you an example. This year, we probably gave over $4,000, which to a lot of people that doesn't seem like a lot, but you know, I mean, to me, it's quite a bit because people, you know, we only charge like people like $100 membership. And then we ask them to donate to certain causes that we do, and then we try to help other people out. A friend of mine in Kansas, we gave money to him. He's kind of
in Kansas,
he's more of like a Baptist. You know what I mean? So we were like, we're just going to give money to the guy because the guy's good and he's worked with us on projects before.
I mean, in Kansas, right? You said in Kansas?
Yeah.
Yeah. People in Kansas need help. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I've been really fighting against this statue, and you know,
I want to talk about that.
Yeah, and the reason I've been fighting against it is there's many reasons. First off, the guy who is behind it all, he goes by Doug Mesner. He also has a name called, I think it's called Malento, and then he goes by Lucien Greaves in the media. Now, I don't have a problem with him doing anything, but if you're going to do anything, like if, let's say, you're Hindu or Christian or whatever, you're going to put up a statue, wouldn't you think you would actually be that religion? He's written about atheism for 1 million years, and I would stand against him because I'm a theistic Satanist, and I believe in Satan as a deity, almost like a pagan would believe in, you know, Pan or one of the other type of things. And when you look at the word in Merriam's dictionary, they don't even get this part of it. Satanist would mean you would follow the teachings of Satan, or you would have Satan as your God.
Yeah,
but
that definition is screwed up, though.
Yeah, but you know, they have these people who want to be in a religion, but then what are they really about? All I see them is trying to make this a political spin on everything. I mean, you know, attack the Christian. Here's the other thing that I can tell you about this statue. The statue itself in no way represents Satanism, and I'll tell you the reason why.
Is anybody claiming?
Not because Tom said so. Okay.
Is anybody claiming that it's representing Satanism? haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Either. Who?
The group is trying to put it up.
The Satanic Temple?
The Satanic Temple. Yes, and one of the easiest way to block them is they don't represent things. First off, they're calling themselves a church representing a temple, but yet they're a corporation. They're not. That doesn't qualify for a church, and they're trying to say that this represents all of Satanism.
I haven't heard that. Where did you read that at? Where did you hear that at? Did you hear or read that where? Because I'd be interested.
They write that in all of their own blogs. I subscribe to all their blogs. I mean,
it's not. But it's not.
I can tell you this.
I've read their blogs too. In fact, I contacted Lucien before to ask him, you know, about the conflict you guys were having. He didn't even remember who you were.
I understand. He's trying the ignorant approach. I mean, you know, I'm not trying to go. I'm not trying to go after the guy.
Well,
I'll be honest with you. I will get this out there to somebody. Somebody will listen to me. I'm not.
I'm
you know,
listening.
Everyone tries to relegate me like I'm so stupid. I'm a doctor in theology.
I wouldn't say that at all, but I'm giving you an opportunity. I want to listen to what you have to say. First, you got to stop talking over me, though. That's kind of rude.
Right. And I have a legitimate church, which is IRS compliant. It's been around since 2000. Okay, and I'm telling people, well, this guy's not a legitimate church. He's a corporation. Everybody's like, oh, well, it don't matter. They don't matter. Everybody's like, they don't matter. And I'm like, yes, this does matter. If you have a religion, you're going to represent it the right way, like I do. Go through, get your paperwork the right way, or you're a scammer, or you're a cult.
I know, Tom. I mean, that makes sense. You would represent your religion the right way, but the Satanic Temple they're not theistic Satanists.
That's correct.
And they've never claimed to be
but
theistic
Satanists. But they're not speaking for Satanism in general.
They haven't said that. They don't want anything. From what I've read, they don't want anything to do with theistic Satanism. They don't believe in an actual Satan.
Sure.
So they can't be claiming to represent theistic Satanism if they don't even believe in a real Satan, right? So you can't really fault them for trying to speak for all of Satanism, because
obviously you can't represent Satanism.
They're not trying
Satanism on per definition. If you're an atheist or you're supporting atheism, which they would rather do. This is all merely a publicity stunt at this point.
Well, I don't know. Is it just publicity? Because it's actually do you have a problem with the Ten Commandments being there or no?
I don't have a problem with anything with other religions whatsoever.
So you think, well, I know,
but I didn't
ask if you had a problem with religions. Do you have a problem with the Ten Commandments being at the Oklahoma State Capitol and that being the only religious monument there?
I don't really have a problem. I mean, I don't really have a problem with any representation of any religion. I'm just, if you're going to represent it, do your research and represent Satan correctly. Don't come to somebody who actually knows what the representation is, not just me. There's other people out there who are accredited in Satanism to speak for the religion, who have churches and etc. Don't just what.
What you should do is you should apply for a permit for theistic Satanists to have a monument there, because there's two different types of Satanism. It's like a car. It's like Satanism is a car, and theistic Satanism is a Ford, and atheistic Satanism is a Chevy kind of deal. You know what I mean? But they're both cars.
Right.
That's kind of the way we're looking. And the Satanic Temple, from what I've seen, isn't claiming to be a car. It's claiming to be a Chevy.
By virtue of guilt by association, by virtue of association with the sex offenders, then they're basically a sex offender temple.
No, you can't.
I mean, you are who you do business with.
I mean, really, you're going to hold the whole group of accountable for one person's actions? I don't think that's fair to do, is it?
Of course, because the media does it all the time. It
doesn't matter if the media does it. It doesn't make it right. You know what I mean? The media can do that the media does lots of things that I don't agree with. I mean, I'm sure you don't agree with everything the media does. Just because the media does it doesn't make it okay or acceptable, right?
That's correct. But we're informational people. We want to know all of the truth we can. But I get tired of the media lying to everybody. Okay, but we're informational people. So if somebody's putting up something, do your due diligence and go do it.
If we use the same logic, the media lies to people, then it's okay to lie to people. That's what you're saying, because the media associates people with guilt. I've never lied to people. I've seen what this guy's all about. I don't get where other people are not seeing what this guy's all about. I mean, like I said, I see what the guy's about. Bottom line, he's affiliated with sex offenders. Then guilt by association. They do it all the time. Donald Trump. Everybody else. If you go to the wrong person's house, doesn't make it right, though.
You get put in that situation.
I don't know. Just because it happens doesn't make it okay. And there's a lot of things that happen that we don't agree with and we work against. So I think the guilt by association thing is something that I don't agree with, and I don't support it. I mean, I don't associate people being guilty just because of who they associate with necessarily. I mean, I have friends who have broken the law. It doesn't make me. I mean, I don't break the law because they do. It doesn't make me a bad person, I don't think. I mean, everybody knows somebody who's done something. I mean, really. I mean, do you not associate with anybody that has any type of criminal record ever?
I have no criminal record. I'm
not you. I'm talking about the people you know, the people you associate with, the people that you interact with. None of them have any type of criminal record.
And you know what? I had him in my church. I had a guy, we found out he was a convicted offender. You know what we did? We removed them immediately,
Okay,
without question.
So
and
anybody
issued a statement.
everyone you know is a law-abiding citizen, has never broken the law.
Some people didn't break the law.
That's my point. Okay, Tom, would it be fair if I judged you based on their actions because you associate with people like that? It wouldn't be fair, would it? I mean, I'm not going to judge. I'm going to judge you on your actions and on what you do, not who you associate with.
That's correct.
Yeah, see, that's more fair.
Modern Satanism. Called it Satan's masterstroke of genius.
You're listening to the Modern Satanism podcast. This is Monika Gottindottir, back to talk about books. Recently, Reap and I have gotten requests for reading recommendations, so because I'm a librarian and a book enthusiast, I'll be spending the next few minutes talking about a few texts that I hope our lovely listeners will enjoy. The first I recommend is a short English play, The Tragical History of Dr. Faustus, written by Christopher Marlowe at the turn of the 17th century. The play concerns a German doctor who sells his soul to the devil so that Mephistopheles will do his bidding. Ultimately, though, Dr. Faustus begins to question his position in the soul bargain. It's about 50 pages long, on average, so it can be finished in one sitting. It inspired the 19th century two-part German work by von Goethe simply titled Faust, which is an extended version of the tale. Next on the list is William Blake's Marriage of Heaven and Hell. Originally a series of illustrated poem verses from the late 18th century, it's now fairly easy to find in plain text as well as full-color facsimile. The poem concerns conflicting ideas between the energies of heaven and hell and ultimately outlines experiences talking with figures both holy and demonic. Spoiler alert, the satanic forces are favored over the Christian. It's less than 30 pages long, so it's a fast read. I would suggest, though, finding a full-color facsimile so you can enjoy all of the illustrations. If you enjoy satire, the Screwtape Letters written in 1942 by C.S. Lewis is a very entertaining read. All of the letters within the short book are from the senior devil Screwtape, writing to his young and somewhat naive and excitable nephew Wormwood. Wormwood struggles to convert one of his patients to Satanism, so Screwtape, his affectionate uncle, gives him advice for success and offers criticisms for his failures. Screwtape explains the intricacies and manipulations a junior devil must learn in order to be successful. And some of the remarks are so outdated that they're just laugh-out-loud silly today. Mind you, it is indeed satire, but to me it seems as though some of the manipulations are distinctly mid-century Christian ideas, particularly that Screwtape warns Wormwood against allowing his patient to consider the validities of science. Ironically enough, the old paperback version I have in my collection used to belong to a church. The final book I'll recommend for now is Là-bas by Joris Karl Huysmans. Originally written in French in 1891, the setting is of course late 1800s France. Because it concerned Satanism, though, certain places were banned from selling it for a while after it was first published. The novel follows the writer Durtal as he researches a prominent Satanist from centuries before his time. During his research, he tracks down a woman, Madame Chantelouve, who has ties to a contemporary practicing Satanist. Durtal insists on attending the next black mass the satanic priest is going to perform, and so after a brisk affair with Madame Chantelouve, he gets his wish. It was not a ceremony of death and pedophilia and child murdering, as his research led him to believe, but it was still quite a bit too much for him, so he left early. Throughout the entire book, the social and political landscapes of 1880s France are constantly outlined, so they put into context the reason for Durtal's research. If you didn't gather from episode 2 of Modern Satanism, I love French satanic literature. English versions of Là-bas are titled as either The Damned or Down There if you're having trouble spelling it. It's L-A-B-A-S. The novel is about 280 pages long, so it'll keep you occupied for longer than the others that I've recommended. If you're interested in reading any of these, track them down and let us at Modern Satanism know what you think. With any luck, I'll be back later to discuss more Satanist and atheist literature, exclusively on the Modern Satanism podcast.
And now back to the conversation with Tom Raspotnik.
Have you applied for a permit to put a monument up of your own, maybe, in Oklahoma, or thought about it?
I would never do one in Oklahoma. I would do one in my home state of Michigan.
Oh, okay. Well, have you done that?
Yeah, I haven't applied in Michigan yet.
Oh.
I already have a statue, which
okay.
our church paid for. We didn't fundraise. Well, we didn't put the $10,000 of our own money into it. Let's put it that way. We were able to fundraise it by being legitimate.
Oh, I don't know. By being legitimate, how? How do you define that? How is the Satanic Temple not legitimate?
Legitimacy comes in if you're an IRS compliant church.
Okay.
Okay, if you want to act like a church, then you need your
Lots
regulations.
of people fundraise that aren't churches, though, right?
Well, if you don't want to be a church, I mean, you can be a corporation, I guess, but a corporation can't. To me, it seems like you're trying to say that anyone can do anything, and that's not the case.
Well, anyone can do anything. I mean, really.
I mean, anybody can just run roughshod around. You know what? It's when the IRS comes and sees a person's documents, okay, and let's say the government doesn't regulate churches, okay, but that's a misnomer.
Okay.
If you're out there taking people's money and you're not providing the right documentation internally, the government will come to you and they will convict you, and it's up to you to prove you're innocent. There have been churches that have been prosecuted, even though the government says we're not going to do anything against churches.
Yeah, I understand that. So
if you're going to be a church, then go and get your legitimate paperwork. Otherwise, shut your mouth about talking for Satanists as a whole.
I think they're not.
I have a legal church.
It's a group. It's more of a group, an organization, more than a church, isn't it?
Right. They have a corporation, which is stupid. I mean, first off, you got to think.
They can do what they want.
You're going to put yourself in a for-profit status, okay? And you're going to put yourself in the government's harm's way where they can throw an eye on you versus having a church and going about it legality-wise as a church.
I don't know why you would have a problem with that. Why do you even care about what they're doing? I mean, you're doing your own thing, right? I don't understand why.
It's not that I care about what they're doing. Here's the thing.
Sounds like it.
I'm not bitter about it. Everyone thinks I'm jealous. I don't have to be jealous, okay? First off, I make more money than
jealousy.
Doug Mesner ever does. So I have no reason to be jealous of him. I've been on TV. I've been in the media. I get interviewed all the time. I'm not worried about media. Everybody goes, you're just jealous because he's putting up this statue. No. If you're going to put up a statue and you're going to represent Satanism, you're going to do it right.
But, Tom, the problem is they're not claiming to represent Satanism. You're mad about something that's not happening.
Okay, then have them call it an atheist statue. Call it what it is.
Wait,
because I'm here to tell you, when this statue goes up, I'm going to provide websites and materials so people can find it, and I'm going to call it the Alfred Levy Memorial Statue. And I'm going to brand that as the name of the actual statue until everyone goes.
You're going to call it the what?
I'm going to call it the Alfred Levy Memorial Statue.
Oh. I think that you're trying to find fault with something that's not happening. I mean, they're not claiming to be theistic Satanists, and obviously you are a Satanist, but you're not the same type of Satanist. There's different types of Satanism, just like there's different types of Christianity, right?
Then go, right. But if they're atheists, then the technicality comes in. Anton LaVey was not an atheist until his death. When he started to be broke, he said, "I'm going to go back in and kowtow to the atheists to bring money into the Church of Satan."
Well, that
doesn't mean the whole religion of Satanism.
That Church of Satan is a totally different subject. They're not even, they're a different subject.
Right, but in comparative, atheists, which Doug's wrote about for years, how big of an atheist is, go raise money on atheists. Get out of the idea of being a Satanist, because you're not. So you're just going to go out and say, I'm a Satanist because that name badge fits me today?
Is it fair to tell people what they are and what they are not?
Those of us who are knowledgeable and wise can judge people.
So it's fair for you to tell people what they are and what they are not?
No, it's not. People can.
Personally, I don't. When someone tries to tell me that what I am or what I believe in or what I don't believe in, I get kind of resentful. I don't resent that. I don't appreciate people doing it. I'm sure you would feel the same way. I mean, do you like it when people tell you what you think or believe? I mean,
not at all. But I'm not going out there and saying that I'm a Jew, for an example, and you're not a Jew.
Do what?
Like as an example, but as a facetious example. But if I was Jewish, I'm not saying misleading people that I'm Jewish.
Because you're not Jewish.
I know. I'm not running around telling people I am. Obviously, I thought maybe you wanted me to talk about what is wrong with the statue. I apologize.
No, you can talk about what's wrong here. No, you can talk about whatever you want. I mean, I'm not.
No, but I'm saying, I'm right on this issue. You don't call yourself a Satanist and don't live up to it. And that's what he's doing. I mean, I don't know what you're reading that I'm not reading, but I'm reading everything that he's running around in Satanism.
I think the problem is you're trying to equate him. He's not atheistic Satanist. You're right. He's not. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean,
he could go be an atheist if he wants to go be an atheist. And we're gonna, as a theistic satanic community, that can speak for it, because I mean, I have one of the only churches.
So, are you saying that the only Satanists that are legitimate are theistic Satanists?
Well, by name, by definition, yes.
Oh, all right.
By definition.
Well, whose definition? By the Merriam-Webster's definition?
Yeah, for example, Merriam-Webster's dictionary, not on the LaVey's version.
What if that definition changes? Then you're going to change your point of view too?
We can change a lot of things. Liberals change things from, from conservatives to gay people. Change things from straight people, from lesbian people. I mean,
Tom, I think it was a fair question. Would you change your perspective if the definition changed?
Yeah, I would change it, because if he
because you realize the definition is changing. I mean, Merriam-Webster hasn't done it yet, but there's several other places that have changed the definition of Satanism. You realize that?
I haven't seen the new updated Satanism changing yet, but that doesn't mean it couldn't exist.
Yeah,
I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, there are some changes in the definition. So, I don't know, at what point are you going to change your position on it? When Merriam-Webster changes their definition?
And that is a good point. When am I going to change my definition on Satanism? I'm not staring at a Satanist. I'm staring at an atheist wearing a costume at this moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see a lot of Satanists wearing costumes, really. I mean, Anton LaVey, maybe. The Church of Satan seems to like the costume thing, but I think that was just a ploy. So you don't have a problem with the Ten Commandments being on public property? I don't. You don't believe in the separation of church and state?
Well, first off, the government separation of church and state is really a mythological thing, because the government in the First Amendment only states that they will not impose a religion upon the general public, and the statute doesn't necessarily impose. The freedom of religion comes into play in the papers that were so designed by I can't remember what is the president. I believe it was Jackson or one of the I can't remember. I don't have it in front of me, but Jefferson designed papers where he talked about government not being involved in people's religion, and then everybody exacerbated that into the idea that we all have this freedom of religion, which we don't. We have freedom from government oppression in religion. Such as if a dictator came in and said, "We are going to be a Muslim, and you're going to like it."
Okay. It also says that it prohibits the making of any law respecting an establishment or religion. So if it shows favoritism towards any certain religion, it's not allowed to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I think it's fine. But if something is allowed to be or has existed prior, okay, if the Ten Commandments statute is there, they should remove the Ten Commandments statute, yes. Okay. However, that all goes by the ability. First off, when the statue goes in Oklahoma, Doug and everybody else aren't going to be able to afford it. It's going to become a municipal Easter egg. It's going to be in somewhere else somewhere, okay, where they're not going to take care of it. The Christians, at least I have respect for them. They're out there fixing their statue, maintaining it.
But you can't say that they're not going to be responsible for it when it hasn't even happened. I mean, you can't find them guilty of something they haven't even done.
No, but first off, if the statue is in bad disrepair, and which I know, I mean, first off, the fundraising is going to stop. I mean, I've already impacted people in the satanic community to the point where they're not going to be giving for this project in the future. Okay. Now, regardless of the definition change, okay, the real Satanist, don't be excited of the statue one day and remove my real Satan. I mean, that's all I can tell you. I'm not saying that as an act of change, but I'm saying there are people who are in the theistic community that, of course, are a little more wealthier than the other people who are willing to take chances. Let's put it that way.
Take chances on what?
Take chances on certain things. That's all I can say.
That's kind of vague.
Not myself, but
it's kind of vague.
They've got money in their.
You can't elaborate on that a little bit?
I can say this, that I know of certain individuals who somehow will do something eventually. That's all I can say, and it's not me. I'm not involved in it.
Somebody's going to do something eventually. All right.
Yep.
It's pretty big talk, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I can just say that I would be the first one to, let's say, pay their legal defense fund.
Now, you're saying that they're going to break the law, so you'd have to pay their legal defense funds, but you have a problem with Doug Mesner being associated with somebody who has a criminal background. That doesn't make any sense.
Sex offense background. If he was offended with it, if he was a part of a shoplifter, I could care less.
I know, but I'm just trying to find the logic there, where you would pay the legal defense fund for somebody who broke the law and support them that way. And Doug Mesner's not paying anybody's legal defense for their legal defense against breaking the law, but you would do that, but you have a problem with him associating with somebody who breaks the law.
It sounds a little hypocritical, however.
A little bit. To be honest,
a little bit different than knowing a shoplifter or knowing somebody who's doing whatever. I mean, it's a little bit different. When you're associating with a sex offender, you're a lot more than somebody that's maybe spray painting.
So let's say somebody who did actual physical harm towards another person. Would you pay for their legal defense or no?
No, I would never. I don't condone that behavior.
Okay, I'm just trying to kind of find out what you're talking about when you said you paid. What type of behavior would you pay legal defense for? I mean, where do you draw the line?
Well, I could say, let's say this. Okay, let's see. Let's say somebody was trying to. Let's say somebody unjustly got put in jail. I would help them. Okay. Let's say that somebody was fighting for a certain cause in this country. I would help them. And it's not that we're running some kind of theistic satanic mafia.
And we'll continue the conversation with Tom Raspotnik in about 15 minutes. In the meantime...
Hello?
Hello?
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
Who the hell am I talking
to? What do you want me to say?
Introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Madalyn Catherine, and I am 41 years old. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, California, everybody's favorite place, and I'm a proud Satanist.
You're one of those people down south, though. I'm not supposed to like
you. I am Southern California, so, okay, maybe the love is not as strong, but it should be.
I mean, there's some there because we're from the state of California. Of course, we rule. But what were we talking about? Well, we're talking about you living in Southern California.
Oh yes, the pit of California.
You live in a land of sin and debauchery. That's what we think.
I'm sorry. Repeat that question. What?
Sin and no other question. That was a statement.
Oh, that was. What? And I don't think so. No. I knew some people, though. It's not my bag, baby.
Well, no, not you personally, but I mean the area you live in is known for sin and debauchery. That's like.
Oh, I get it. No, we're known for rape, murder, burglary. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, debauchery. There you go. Okay, sure. Yeah, right? I'm on the wrong side of the tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. According to, that's this part of the state, from the northern part of the state, because we're uppity and uptight and stuck up, we say bad things about other parts of the state, like Bakersfield.
Oh, I know this. See, look, truly, I lived in Montana for 10 years, and the hardest thing to overcome in Montana was being a Californian in Montana, even though the majority of residents are from California. They just don't speak of it.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's like speaking of Satan. People freak out. They really do.
Were there a bunch of those anti-government people where you lived, or no?
Oh, you mean in Montana?
The perception is kind of like Montana. You go to Montana when you hate the government, you move to Montana.
Yeah, the only problem is there's Montana militia, and they're very Republican. And I'm an independent. I like to, I'm a switch hitter. I like to go back and forth, Republican, Democrat, whatever. I don't like to be locked down into something. And they have a real problem with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be Republican and, you know, pack a 12 gauge with you wherever you go.
Those Republicans would own you forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but yes, they hate us. Absolutely. And yeah, when you say Southern California, I mean, like you said, they can't get away fast enough.
What are you, some kind of movie star or something? Or are you a coke addict?
Yeah, all of the above.
Yeah. From California, you hug trees, or you're a coke addict, or you're a movie star, or you're hip.
Somebody, they said, what are you trying to escape from? That was their favorite line. What are you hiding from?
Actually, that'd be
like, I don't really understand you, but okay.
Yeah.
What are you hiding from? You know, I mean, you know, the whole redneck outback, don't know what they're talking about kind of thing.
That's the only reason you could be there, right? So you're running from something? Is that what it is?
Absolutely, yes. And then, you know, since I'm not a man, I can't grow a beard and blend in with the rest of them, you know.
Yeah, you know.
All men are hairy, for sure.
I know that it would be
Hairy
convenient.
men.
It would probably be nice if you could hide and blend in, but it's really probably a good thing you can't grow a beard.
Yeah, I have a no-no just in case, but I'm really hoping to avoid that.
Does it really work?
Actually, they do, but you know, the scary or sad part, whatever you want to say, firstly, is it's totally expensive, and they don't tell you this. They tell you to make a $50 like down payment, and if you don't read everything, you suddenly signed up for $300 worth of no. That's a no.
Well, that's why they call it that, I guess.
But no. Hello.
No, what the fuck, Skype? It's Skype now.
People recommend Skype, really?
No, Skype usually works very well. Usually it works really, really good, but I think between the Skype and AT&T, maybe that's the problem. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you know what? AT&T's like, fuck you.
I want to get your opinion and your feelings on women and their role in Satanism today and in the past. Kind of
right.
both.
Well, you know, very hard to explain that, I guess. The thing is, firstly, I realized that in modern Satanism, women are more accepted. I believe way back when it was more or less we played a role like, and I don't mean like, sacrificial or this and that, but more like a sex whatever.
Yeah.
We're good for orgies, stuff like that.
Come in handy at the orgies, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to have a big orgy with men. Well, I guess you could now.
Yeah,
it's not quite as fun. But anyway,
feeling to it.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
It's got a different feeling to it if the orgy's all men, I think.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't want to see that, for sure. But I do believe that, way back when, there was not actually a place for women, per se.
Yeah.
There were no women, up in ranks as far as, like, being a minister or, anything associated with that. I mean, that's been a role in, obviously, every religion. Women have an issue climbing the ladder,
Yeah.
And again, I think we were more or less kind of, made to be again, not a sacrifice, but yes, for,
fertility thing, right? Is it get the fertility thing going on where your worship?
I've heard of that. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but it could be something like that. And, everybody wants to repopulate the earth, and we know they're doing it very well. So there could be something to that. I mean, the male figure.
Yeah, I guess that's well and good, but really it doesn't have much. I mean, just kind of, I don't know. I find it weak as a reason, as a place thing.
It actually is. It's like caveman theory. Let me beat you over the head, drag you by your hair. I'll have my way with you, and we'll just repopulate.
Yeah.
There's no.
I worship you.
Real feeling. I mean, obviously, there's no feeling involved. There's nothing romantic about it. So I do believe, like I said, that women serve a purpose. Now we come to today, and I think just like, Hillary Clinton can, run for president.
Hillary.
Hillary, let's not go there. But no, truly, I think that, yes, we've kind of gained a little bit of footing.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as, will be in the future, because it can only go up, right? It can only progress.
Yeah.
I don't think it will take a downward swing. I think it'll just keep going on.
Yeah.
And, women actually do play quite the integral part in Satanism. And aside from the sex symbol, reproduction stuff, we actually think and speak.
No way.
And, it's amazing, isn't it? And especially from Southern California. Oh, no.
Yeah.
True.
Scary.
But we have a platform as well, and it's not, women against the men. It's that we are now coming into, like, there was, like, almost segregation, and now we're more unified.
Yeah. And
people actually stop and listen to what a woman has to say, which is great because we can talk a lot.
I'm glad you said.
And we have our own views, and but they fall in line with the others. We're individuals, but we still believe what we believe, and it's not because we're female, but like I said, we're getting a better foothold, and I think again our conversations and our studies and our blah 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 really actually help the situation, because if you really put it down, I think that a lot of people are more willing to listen to a woman, perhaps because they're not expecting for us to be this hooded rawr figure, although they know we're women, so you can't say much more than that. But I think we actually put a softer line to the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
let me see how you describe that. Like, I don't want to say maybe nurturing or more of supportive, maybe. I don't know how to describe it, because women do have a different perspective. They come at things from a different angle than guys do. Guys want to beat things up, and guys want to tear and punch things in the face a lot. And women have a tendency, not that they don't, but women have a tendency.
Is that what you're saying?
Women guys will resort to that, like, pretty quick.
Oh, no, I get it. Okay,
Yeah.
Yes. Well, here's the thing is, we're all human beings, no matter what you want to say. We're all human. Human nature is to defend and protect. I don't care if you're male or female. I'd go and punch somebody in the face, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying, but it wouldn't be your first option, right?
No, of course I would, oh, here we go, it's like textbook. I'd try to reason with them first.
I try to talk to them.
Yeah, I would try to be more empathetic as to their stance.
Yeah.
And I don't have a closed mind to that. You believe what you want to believe, and I believe what I want to believe, and that's our, I don't want to say God-given right, but that's what they would say. That is the way it is.
Yeah.
So, but you want to keep pushing and prodding and challenging, and any person, male or female, would attack.
Yeah.
I believe.
And I think that you could, it would be fair to describe the approach you just talked about as more mature than other approaches, trying to talk first and trying to say, hey.
Well, of course. But that probably comes from being a little more mature. As you know, when you're young, you tend to fly off the handle real quick. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that because I'm still, waving the finger and I talk smack.
Not a good analogy because I don't do well in the traffic.
It's called road rage, and I have it. Yep.
Yeah.
Which is why I try not to drive that much.
You mother.
So, I'm protecting the good people of Los Angeles by not driving that much.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You guys can't drive either, so there's that too. You guys can't drive. That's what I heard.
Well, we won't go into that because, that's always a debate. Who drives worse and, this and that.
I've driven both here and down there, and I think that people just suck at driving everywhere.
Well, that's just it. It's how they said it, they teach you it's, defensive driving, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think people took that a little literally, like be defensive, like totally defensive, and instead of offensive, they just want to, sideswipe you, run you into, a ditch, or
get them before they get you.
Yeah, it's an adventure every time you get in the car.
Yep.
It's, great fun. Woo!
Yeah, totally. Man.
Yeah.
Because I drive a lot here, and it's just like, I have more problems with people swerving into my fucking lane than anything else. Get out of my fucking lane.
I know your area, actually, so I totally agree. I've driven there plenty of times myself, and you know what? It's not better up there. It's not better down here, and Montana's horrible. So I think, people are just, they're so into themselves and doing what they're doing and playing with their cell phones and all kinds of stuff that they just don't care. They don't think anything's going to happen, and that's just a stupid approach to anything. I mean, you have to weigh it out. Yeah. So especially when you're driving, 2,000 tons or something.
Yeah, man, that's a lot of weight to be moving at that speed.
I think so, yeah.
And you know what? If you go around and you just like talk to people at various places, not driving, just talking to them one-on-one, there's a lot of people you'll talk to that if you imagine them driving a car, it's just fucking scary.
Well, you know what? That's when you swipe their keys.
Yeah, it's like this person
really,
how are they going to drive the
okay?
Yeah.
Some people, the more sober they are just horrendous.
Yeah. People can't
and at least the drunks have a laugh about it. Yeah. Sad.
If you can't push a shopping cart around the grocery store, really, should you be driving?
Well, I know, because you know what? I've actually, had little, bumper car.
Yeah.
Not a fender bender, but I mean, you lock up with, and they look at you like, just die. I mean, there's no,
The next time that happens,
they don't say they're sorry. I have to say I'm sorry because I feel bad.
The next time that happens,
look at
them and go, "Give me your fucking keys. You got a car."
Well, you know what? They turn out to be the ones parked next to you.
Yeah.
And you find those funny little dings on your door.
Yeah.
Those would be the same people. Yep.
Yeah. They can't figure out how to open their car door without bashing into somebody else's car.
Well, and I think my dog's trying to come through the window. Whew. I have a guard dog.
Dog person, so you're cool.
Actually, I can't take him in my vehicle because if I get pulled over, I'm pretty sure the cops will shoot him. It's not pretty. He's pretty big.
Yeah.
But it's people are just not paying attention to anything. They're just into themselves. They don't want to see anything else. So, if you want to live your life with blinders on and walk around in like some little fog, hey, just don't hit me.
Yeah. Bash into your own stuff. Leave my stuff alone. Leave my stuff alone. That's all I got. That's all I have to say. Let's talk about, what else you want to talk about? You want to talk about the monument? Because everybody else is talking about the monument.
Oh, that's so hard because, you know what, I feel like just saying, I think it's great. I mean, the thing is, the time has come to where, I mean, obviously, it's supposed to be about equal rights all over the place and, separation of church and state and all this and that. I mean, it gets very political and very technical. However, I do agree. Obviously, I do agree with that because I believe everyone does have a right to...
Okay, one more time.
One of us is about to get a new phone.
You said everyone does have a right to...
That's funny. Anyway, so where'd you lose me?
Everyone does have the right to.
Well, hell, everyone has the right to do this, that, and whatever. Oh, okay, everybody has... well, everyone has the right to have their beliefs represented. If they're going to have one thing devoted to one particular denomination, then I don't see what's so wrong with having other denominations come up as well.
Yeah.
It's, again, we are here. I mean, it's not like, we're not hidden away. We're actually here being Satanists and, whatever you want to say. But
as anybody else.
What's that?
We're just as valid as anybody else.
Absolutely. 100%, yes. And so, again, if you don't like it, then you can take down the first one and just have nothing.
Yeah.
And if that's what you want, then fine. But I do believe that, everybody has a right to be heard. So.
Okay, now, before I lose you on the call again, is there something, if you you have an opportunity to tell other Satanists, is there something that you would tell them, something you'd have to say to them?
Them who?
Satanists, other Satanists.
Well, I consider myself one, so I'd say we're all unified, and I respect your opinions, and I hope you respect mine. And I think we actually have a very nice gathering of people. We're not evil and horrible, awful people that, everybody likes to think about. We're not from the movies. We don't chew on flesh.
Movies aren't real.
We don't roast dogs. And yes, I do not, go out first thing in the morning and go puppy hunting for a sacrifice.
I know, I love puppies.
Yeah, I saw that, and actually I love that because yes, it's I love all animals, and I would never hurt them. I try to save them.
I'm glad to hear you say that we're all together. All the Satanists together.
Okay, I better go let my dog in before he chews through everything out there. Yeah. Peace and love.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Modern Satanism. Call it Satan's masterstroke of genius.
Okay, that was a enjoyable conversation with Madeline, wasn't it? I think it was. I apologize for the interruptions or the gaps or the jumps in the conversation, but that fucking AT&T, I know it was them. Those bastards. Now I'm going to get back to the conversation I had with Tom. You're listening to Modern Satanism. Duh.
I'm always looking to basically put this in the media. I think I'm in the media quite often. I'm actually interviewed quite often in Europe about the subject of Satanism.
Can I make a suggestion? If you're going to be in the media more often, you should probably be able to differentiate between the types of Satanism so you don't look silly when you get on there. Because the Satanic Temple isn't claiming to be theistic Satanists, and you keep on kind of faulting them for being theistic Satanists when they're not.
They're claiming to be Satanists.
Yeah, they can claim to be Satanists if they want. Really, I mean, it's a free country, right? I mean,
you can claim to be anything, but are you real?
Well, not
you can claim to be a reverend, but if you're not a reverend, in reality, on paper, corporations can't hold reverendship, for an example. So then they need to quit calling themselves. We're going to be high priests, and we're going to be everything else, and playing role playing on everywhere else. They've made
it clear they don't have a hierarchy. They don't have that type of organizational system.
They changed it now. I've seen other things come out from this group, and maybe he's got other spokespeople speaking for on his behalf, like the sex offenders in Oklahoma that he doesn't seem to know anything about.
Yeah, he might have other spokespeople. I'm not sure. I don't think there's a hierarchy though. You know what I mean? I don't think it's like the Church of Satan.
There's people claiming to have hierarchy, but again, I just know it's just a little group of people, and if you ever want to come out and see a real church, come out, and I'll break 50, 100 people into a real situation to tell you what reality.
Yeah, but see, that's with Satanism. The atheistic Satanism isn't the same type of thing.
Because here's what you got. I don't know which one of these spokespeople it is, and maybe and I'm starting to call maybe fake screen names or whatever in social network.
Yeah.
But you got people who are out there speaking for the Satanic Temple, saying all kinds of different things about how they're going to take over Satanism. And I understand it's good to have goals, but I mean, they maybe need to clear that up too.
I believe in separation of church and state. And I think that it's a good idea to challenge religion when it tries to kind of infringe the way the Oklahoma state capitol is being infringed on by the Ten Commandments. I mean, I know we had a problem locally to me where we had a big religious Ten Commandments monument in a zoo area where people have like wedding receptions and stuff like that. It was a big gaudy thing, and I don't think it belongs there. If they want to put it in a church, they can. And if you don't agree with that, that's one thing. And I think maybe you should make it more clear that that's your position and where you're coming at. You don't care about the Ten Commandments being there, leave them alone, kind of deal. But I think that it's up to us to kind of challenge things that bother us, and I think that a lot of people are bothered by that Ten Commandments being unchallenged, sitting there by itself and at the state capitol, and they don't like it. And
there's hundreds of Ten Commandments.
Here's number one, and then we go after number two, and then number three. In fact, you're right. There's more than hundreds. There's thousands, because there was a group that was even local to me in Oakland that went out of their way, and what they did is they went to fire stations and put up Ten Commandments plaque at a fire station. They were donating these plaques, and this is back in the 50s and 60s, and they were acting like they were doing a great community service. And now we've got all these Ten Commandment crap plaques all over the place.
If Doug suddenly said, I'm just going to put up this statue for atheism, I'd be more than happy, and my entire church would donate to the fact that he became truthful with what he did. Not misleading.
He has never said he's not an atheist, though, has he? I haven't seen him.
Satanist now. Well,
yeah, he's
maybe this is all of the
atheistic Satanist.
This is all the fake things.
Okay, the fact is, Satan can be used as a symbol, right, without having to believe in the actual being, right? I mean, there's a lot of symbolism goes on. Symbolism all over the place.
Instead of confusing people, you're misleading people with
you ever watch football? You ever watch football? You know, they all have mascots, right? They all have mascots. And there's all kinds of symbolism all over this country. Everywhere there's symbolism.
Well, I don't like the fact that when I don't like the fact that white people are called crackers. So maybe Cracker Jack should change their name. Maybe the dictatorship government should go in and say, because we have the king now, maybe he should go in and say, oh, Cracker Jack's wrong, because he's making all these decisions without consulting everybody and making all our stuff.
But I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's a free country and they're allowed to do.
I'm siding with the Christians, but I'm not.
It's a free country, though. I mean, people are allowed to do, have their own beliefs, their own thoughts, and if he wants to identify as a Satanist because he uses Satan as a symbol of his belief system or his lack of belief or whatever you want to call it, I mean, he does have the right to do that, doesn't he?
Right, but you know what? Then he could put up actually something that would be neutral. See, here's the thing: Christian ministers and Muslim ministers, or Muslim clerics, and Jewish people, that when they represent their religion, they're speaking at conferences, they speak in generalities, not to offend others. That's what he needs to start doing.
Wait, not to offend people, you said? Because I find a lot of the religious rhetoric offensive.
I mean, I guess I'm going to agree to disagree. I just think, if you're going to until they change the definition of Satanism in the dictionary, and I've seen the change of it. I mean, if you go, I've seen it try to be changed or whatever. I'm not going to, again, they're equally as bad, because what happens when you meet with somebody young and they come in and go,
how can you say they're equally as bad? They're not trying to fool anyone. They're not saying things that aren't true. They're not trying to fool anyone.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I appreciate the fact that you don't agree with that version of Satanism, or you don't like it, or you have a problem, and it's okay for you to have a problem with it. You're allowed to. I mean, that's why I'm talking to you today, because it's okay for you to have your opinion. Everyone's entitled to have their opinion, but I mean, to equate them with somebody who's actively trying to victimize people and fool them and tell them things that are untruths. I mean,
but then again, then he would have to pose a point of why is he using a Christian research symbol by a Christian priest who obviously he was. At his death, he died and he received a conclave from the Pope at his death because he was a cult studier. He studied the occult. Levy. That's what that statue is. That last statue is Alpheus Levy's representation, not of Satan, at all.
Yeah, but
that
it was embraced by the
put the moniker of Lucifer. Lucifer and Satan are not the same thing.
Yeah, but
so Duck should call himself a Luciferian atheist then, because he's got a symbol that's most representative of Lucifer, not Satan. They're two different entities.
Okay, I guess you can make that point if you want. I mean,
I can. It's historically a proven point.
I think it's debatable, at least, right?
Like, debatable on what? Lucifer is not Satan. Christianity converted the construct. You've got, even first off, Satan.
Okay, first of all, Satan is a very fluid figure, because you've got, it doesn't really, there's no such thing as an actual Satan, so nobody can say exactly what Satan is. I mean, it's kind of it's a product of man.
I can trace Satan all the way from Judaism back to Sumer, the very first society.
You can do that, but you don't have you can't tell me exactly what Satan looks like. I mean, you can't tell me exactly what it looks like or what's going to represent it, because it's kind of dictated by what people embrace. And the Knights of Templar, right? They used the Baphomet, right?
No, they used the goat head.
Well, I guess that's debatable too, because I think that some people think that
the first definition of the Baphomet only appears by Alpheus Levi. The Templars did not say Baphomet. They claimed the idea of Baphomet. However, we also see that they might have used a few different other deities from Judaism.
Yeah.
Because remember, the Templars were Jews in the beginning and later became Christians as of today.
Similar symbolism, though, right? The symbolism was similar. I mean, there's all kinds of different aspects. I think that's one of the strengths of that figure, is that it embraces a lot of different mindsets or different takes or different angles on Satanism, right?
I mean, I can't change it now. It's been, I really don't care. It's just, I'm going to go on a campaign to call the Levy statue so Satanists don't mistake that. And then I have to, when they come to me, they don't need to be all fucked up and messed up.
Okay.
Sorry. I mean.
Okay. You can do that if you want.
I mean, I sell that. We have an occult store, and I sell Baphomets in my occult store. But we tell people what they are. Why do I tell them if I'm opposed to them? because people buy them, not for that, but they also understand the Lucifer. We give them a little educational pamphlet of the representation was most like Lucifer, so that way they're not confused, calling Satan, you know. And here's the other thing. The first Baphomets were represented in duality. They had a female breast. Now, I understand it's hard to put a breast out because they're going to be bitching about the statue having a breast. Yeah. They could have put a covered breast on it to represent what it represents, not what Doug wants it to represent. I understand he's the designer of the statue, but make it duality. And why put children by there next to a phallic symbol? That doesn't make any sense either. That borderline is questionable when you're also connected to sex offenders.
Now,
you're putting children up next to a statue.
Okay, the connection with sex offender thing is kind of a weak link.
Here's the top. I want to learn about Satan, okay? I could sit down for 4 or 5 hours and teach you about it, and when you were done with it, and I wouldn't teach you what Tom said, I would teach you what history said.
Yeah, that's the best way to learn. Yeah.
I would give you, because I'm not a prophet. I believe there is no such thing as a satanic prophet. People accuse me of such because I'm able to with a select few people who I know by association, I worked hard to get it, are able to recount it and retrace it through history, actually before even Judaism. But am I right or wrong? To an atheist, it's only a theory. And an atheist, it could be an alien, it could be whatever. Yeah. Okay, but I can show a lot of evidence to the fact, you know, of it actually being truthful and who Satan really is. It's a question of the reader believing if there's deities or not. If an atheist, they're going to go, no, that wasn't a deity. If it's a person who believes in aliens, they're going to go, that's an alien.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's fine, and they're allowed to do it. Because, you know, when people come to me with their aliens theory, I go, hey, I really believe you're right with this alien theory, because the creator would have been an alien to the planet. He came here and said, hey, here's the planet. I'm going to start messing with it.
So how can you be okay with that, but then find such fault with what the Satanic Temple's doing? I don't get it.
You know what? I wouldn't have had any problem with any of it, okay? However, now here's the thing. I guess you need to check his people then, because his people are out there misrepresenting it, and you know what? And he's going right along with it again. There's the sex offenders. He's going, I don't know who these people are, because I'm not in a church, but there's all kinds of people putting all kinds of stuff into the media and everywhere else, and the media is tiny, because the occult is such a tiny little piece of the whole entire picture of the whole world. I mean, we're talking maybe.
Have you ever tried to talk to? Have you ever tried to talk to him yourself? Have you ever tried to have a conversation with Doug Misner?
I've talked to a guy who knows him really well, but I've never had a conversation with him.
Would you do that? Would you have a conversation with him?
I would entertain one, but again, I mean, we're going to be in a difference of opinion.
If that's what it's going to be, is a difference of opinion, that's one thing. But it seems like it's kind of more than that from your side. It seems like you have more than a difference of opinion. You're kind of telling them what they can.
I can tell you this much, that I'm not alone on this side. I mean,
no, I'm not saying. I'm sure you're not. I'm sure you're not. I mean, I can
tell you this: there's a lot of people who are absolutely against the statute because I've been able to sway them on my point.
Okay. Well, on your point of you saying that they're not really Satanists, is that what you're talking about?
Exactly, because a lot of the people that I know, most people, okay, you don't get this sickness wrong with, but I have a lot of people within the confines of theistic Satanists that I'm in contact with. Okay. Most people, one of the things
I wouldn't expect theistic Satanists to agree with it, really. I mean, I wouldn't expect them
We're not going to.
I wouldn't expect you to. Who would? Because that would be unreasonable. So, shouldn't it work both ways?
Right, but here's the only thing.
If you were going to put up a monument,
we call out the Church of Satan all the time as well, and we went on a media campaign against them again because they're atheist Satanists as well. Okay. And I don't really, you know what I mean? Satanism, the belief or practice in the form of Satan. I don't have the dictionary in front of me, so I'm not going to quote it exactly. But when you look at that, if you're an atheist, call yourself atheist. If you're a Satanist, if you're a theistic Satanist, if you're a pagan, call yourself pagan.
The Satanic Temple isn't claiming to be a theistic Satanist.
Right, but when you add theism onto Satan, really you're believing, here's what you're adding on to. You're adding on to Satan as your God. Okay?
Yeah.
You can believe in Satan and be a Satanist and not necessarily believe in the God of Satan, but you would believe in Satan as a deity or an entity.
As a force, right? Kind of thing.
Right, as a force.
Okay, kind of like people believing in nature as being like nature being God kind of deal.
Right, because Satanism before Anton LaVey did exist.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it only existed.
A serious problem I have with Peter Gilmore is Peter Gilmore trying to lay claim to Satanism. Do you agree with Peter Gilmore's definition of Satanism?
No, if he wanted to lay, this is the thing. If you're going to lay to the point of one particular coloration of Satanism, maybe like some people say modern, because modern fits it as a modified modern version of Satanism.
Or updated.
Because what you're doing, if you're taking Satanism and you're using the old version and then you're colorizing it yourself, we see this for an example with a gentleman who did a lot of writing about Wicca. Okay, Wicca was actually Gerald Gardner who invented the word per se. Yeah, people of Wicca, and I'm not Wiccan, but they refuse to embrace Gerald Gardner because he's too dark or whatever.
Yeah.
So what they do is they make up their own names for it, but they stay under that particular path of their own name for it. Now, we could say that Doug would be different than what LaVey said. So why call it Satanism as a whole, change it over and make your own name for it? Don't try to lump, because Satanists, the biggest movement in Satanism is towards theism, okay, right now.
Okay.
And I can tell you what you're doing is by saying you're just a Satanist without putting some type of name in front of it. At least Peter Gilmore is doing a better job of it by putting modern in front of Satanism.
No, he does not put modern in front of Satanism. Peter Gilmore puts Satanism. He says Satanism is defined by Anton LaVey. He straight says that. Yeah, so it's a very common thing. He says if you go to the website, you can read blogs recently that he's posted over and over and over again. And there's interviews that he did one with Interfaith Voices. He says straight out that Satanism is defined by Anton LaVey. They define Satanism. They've been doing it for 50 years, and they own Satanism. That's what he says straight out.
Yeah, it's an untrademarkable word.
I would agree with that. But
I don't even think it could be copyrighted in any way whatsoever.
I don't think so either, but that's why I have a problem with Peter Gilmore. I mean, I would assume you would have a problem with Peter Gilmore for some similar reasons. I mean, what we're talking about right now, Peter Gilmore is doing what you have a problem with the Satanic Temple doing. Peter Gilmore is actually doing. The Satanic Temple, you're not going to find any quotes from the Satanic Temple that I've seen at all where they claim they own Satanism. There's no claim there at all. But Peter Gilmore is doing exactly what you're finding fault with the Satanic Temple. You realize that, right?
Right. Well, here's another. Here I can go back. I mean, I can also go back to why would you put on a ritual to a pink ritual or something like that? The ritual's not existent. I guess you could put on one could say you could put on any type of ritual you wanted to.
Well, I don't think.
But why are you trying to call yourself? Well, are you trying to fall under the Satanic banner and doing embarrassing things to the Satanic community? Because even though you may say, well, we're in the Satanic community because we're atheist Satanists. Yes, but you're bringing down the community of Satanism, which is tiny, granted. Okay,
I think.
But Peter Gilmore also has done that.
Peter Gilmore, I have serious problems with Peter Gilmore's position and the way he refuses to interact with anybody he has a problem with. But I think the pink mask, wasn't that to protest kind of the Westboro Baptist people? Isn't that to upset them? And
I mean, I could care less about them. What they did against the soldiers is very wrong. But I'm not going to go out and try to pretend like I can convert people into gay people over. I mean, that's playing a gay card into the mix of it all. And again, is it religion or is it about playing your gay card? I mean, that's also questionable.
Well, I don't know. I think that it's probably about social change, isn't it? And getting people to accept gays and lesbians as normal people instead of judging them because of their sexual preference.
That's correct.
And you're listening to Modern Satanism. We'll take a break right there. And I want to share this little piece that I found on the internet. And I found it interesting that these two gentlemen are trying to sort out the details and the problems and the issues involved in Christian psychology. Let's see what conclusions they come to. And now Dave Hunt and Tom McMahon from Godinterest.com are going to teach us about psychology.
Scriptures Daily, a program in which we encourage everyone who desires to know God's truth to look to God's Word for all that is essential for salvation and living one's life in a way that is pleasing to Him. If you're a new listener or new viewer of our program, you know, Dave, I have to remind myself from time to time that we actually are recording this visually.
So don't be grabbing your crotch.
Because our cameras they're just minute. So, and they blend in here, so I forget about that. Except when Gary does chide me for my wardrobe.
Gary, stop chiding.
Shirts don't fit. Actually, they really wreak havoc with these small cameras that we have.
Yes, they do.
So we just put up with it. You know, it's a new addition to our program, and we're happy about it. I think it's effective.
I'm thrilled.
Nevertheless, get back to the subject. If you're a new listener or viewer to our program for a number of weeks now, we've been discussing.
How can you be new for a number of weeks?
Psychology and the church. And why have we spent so much time on this? Well,
because you don't understand it.
You stated last week in our introduction of psychological counseling,
tough word,
into the church, that over the last century, and hopefully I'm quoting you accurately.
You don't look that old,
close,
but maybe.
You said last week that you believe that this may well be Satan's most ingenious scheme for undermining the belief in the sufficiency of God's Word.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Well, I called it Satan's masterstroke of genius.
Yeah, so I was close enough.
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
Because it's so damn good.
I don't know why it upsets people. Well, I can tell you why it upsets people.
I'm not upset.
Because most of the Christian colleges and seminaries out there, psychology is a big part. Psychological counseling and so forth. They have budgets that they have to meet. They need the tuition.
Oh, it's Satan spending all their money.
Let me document that. The prestigious Princeton Review. I mean, they survey all colleges and universities, Christians and Christian or secular schools.
We get it. Go ahead.
And they say that the number 2 career choice for all college students is psychology.
Probably right behind business.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So now, what is this, Tom?
Good question.
We read the Bible, and this program is called Search the Scriptures Daily. It indicates to us let me read some verses.
Oh, my God. Come on. Can you talk faster, please?
For example, Ephesians chapter 4. I can quote them, but let me make sure I get them
Please quote Scripture.
But,
I love
this
that.
is Ephesians chapter 4. And Paul says, "This I say, therefore, and testify in the Lord, that you henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their mind." To the Corinthians, he says, "Stay away from the wisdom of the world. It's foolishness with God." Psychology is the wisdom of the world, as we've said many times. Verse 18.
Whoa.
This is chapter 4.
You put me right to sleep.
Having the understanding darkened,
it's better than
being
Lunesta.
alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them because of the blindness of their heart. Okay. This is describing the unsaved. That would include Freud and Jung and Rogers and Maslow and all these guys.
Right down the list.
They were all anti-Christians. Who, being past feeling, have given themselves over unto lasciviousness, to work all uncleanness with greediness. Now, here's the part I was thinking of.
Yes.
But ye have not so learned Christ.
I knew it.
If so be ye have heard him, and have been taught by him, as the truth is in Jesus.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Jesus said, "Thy word is truth." Jesus said, "I am the truth." But Christian psychology is based upon the idea that all truth is God's truth, and some of it Freud had.
That's Christian psychology.
It doesn't sound like Freud had any of that. Right. Now, I was just looking at an ad.
That's funny. I was just looking at paint dry.
Well, I don't see why we should keep names secret. From Liberty University, Jerry Falwell's university.
Good old Jerry.
You'd be hard-pressed to find a Christian university college that doesn't offer psychology, so make no apologies.
Yeah, so now what?
It's out there everywhere.
Right. And basically what the ad was saying, and it's being hyped on the radio and television as well, You need psychological training.
You need psychological treatment.
A professional, and even they're saying this for laymen. You could do a much more effective job, and don't just keep this to yourself or to your friends, but get out and help more people. And the way to help more people is you need psychological training. And we have the following courses, okay? Now, if I just went back one chapter,
please do.
Tom, well, 2 chapters in Ephesians where we were.
Okay.
And let's read what it says.
Okay, let's do that.
And now, therefore, you are no more strangers and foreigners. That's what non-Christians are. But fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God. And, this is the verse I'm thinking of, are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone. Okay, in whom all the building
explain that to me, please,
and so forth. We all know these verses by heart. We've heard them so many times. So what's the point?
Yes, what is the point?
Well, the foundation of the church is the apostles and the prophets. Now, Tom, you're a very bright guy. Tell me, which one of the apostles or the prophets had studied Christian psychology?
Yes, tell us, Tom.
I'm stunned, Dave. I'm flabbergasted. I'm speechless.
You can't even remember which one.
Turns out Tom ain't so smart.
It's absurd, except that's where we are now in the church.
Yeah. So if this is the foundation of the church, the apostles and the prophets, and Jesus Christ is the chief cornerstone, he never taught about psychology. He never mentioned it.
I think he's right there.
In the 1800s. That's quite a long time after the church was founded.
You're right.
Jesus said, I will build my church, and he's been building it. How does he build it? Well, we learn the truth as it is in Jesus. We're taught of him. And remember, we've reminded our audience, one of Christ's names, given to him at birth, of course. His name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor.
Mr. Wonderful.
I would go to Jesus Christ for my counsel and to his word, which is where he is called the living word.
Wait, what's he called? Wonderful or the living word?
Into Jerusalem on that white horse, leading the armies of heaven against the Antichrist at Armageddon. He has on his thigh and on his vesture, it says, a name written, the Word of God. We are born again by the Word of God, which liveth and abideth forever. And this is the word which by the gospel is preached unto you. I'm quoting 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 23 through 25.
He's quoting 1 Peter.
Now, if this is the foundation of the church, and we're supposed to be taught by Christ
please let us have a point.
As the truth is in Jesus, then how is it that 1900 years later, suddenly we're being told, oh, you can't really do your job as a Christian. You can't really live for Christ as you should. You know, clear up your deficiencies or unhappiness,
I get the
feelings
point.
of inferiority, whatever you may have. And you can't really counsel others, not even from the Bible, until you have taken a few courses in psychology. Psychological counseling. And where did it come from, Tom?
I agree with that.
It came from the wisdom of this world. Who invented this? Well, you can name them, but they're not Christians. And there's no listing in any textbook for Christian psychology. You'll find Freudian, Jungian, Rogerian, transpersonal, all kinds of psychologies, not Christian psychology. Why? Because there is no Christian who's the founder of a school of psychology.
For more information...
Man, I'm glad that faded out. Okay, I'd love to give you a wrap-up of that, but about the best I can do is, what the fuck are they talking about? You're listening to Modern Satanism. I really tried to understand it, did I? I really tried. Mr. Wonderful, though, we call Jesus that from now on? Mr. Wonderful. Hello, Mr. Wonderful. My name's Jesus. Get that. You're going to hell now. Damn it. You are listening to the Modern Satanism podcast.
In theistic Satanism, we only accept marriage between man and a woman for eating. Okay, but we accept civil unions and we allow LGBT people to become priests and priestesses. So are we not being hypocrites? That's very questionable and totally. However, I can tell you this,
you can do what you want, but it's just
right. Basing it on history of Sumer, which that's what we based the theistic satanic religion on. It was if we were to live that way, and we have adjusted to make society better. If we lived the way they did, they would live very much like Islam and just slay all the people who are gay. Do you see what I mean? But we don't do that because we're not going to be stupid like that. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're doing rituals, you're doing things like this that are just, for, attention, then are you really about trying to work a cause, or are you just trying to get somebody to put a camera in front of your face?
Well, maybe, sometimes you need to have a camera in front of your face to get things done.
I'm very happy in what I do, and I'm getting wealthier all the time, so I don't have any aspirations to get in front of the camera and make myself wealthier.
There's more to life than wealth, though, isn't there? Isn't there more to life than wealth? And it's not always about wealth. I mean, you said we agree on the point that people are like sheep, and sometimes to get people to kind of snap out of that sheep-like behavior or herd behavior, you have to get attention from them, and the way to get attention from them is to do things that are going to gain attention, and you need to do things that are attention-getting so that you can get anywhere, so that you can get people to pay attention and go, hey, look at this. You need to pay attention to this. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, is it?
Right. Well, hey, we're atheists over here. If we're going to put up a statue that is for Alpheus Levi, and then we're going to have rituals that don't exist, and then we're going to...
they're saying we're Satanists. They're saying we are Satanists, and here's our version of Satanism, because like you said, we agreed also that no one can own the word Satanism. I mean, no one owns the word.
That's correct.
So if no one owns it, that means it's open. And it's going to evolve. I mean, people change. People form their own belief systems based on another belief system all the time. I mean, look at Christians. How many different types of Christians are there? If you went and asked 20 Christians what to define Christianity, you would get 20 different definitions of it. And it's the same with any type of belief system that exists. And it's the same thing and Satanism is not immune from that. It's going to be the same thing there. And it's is it fair to point them out and say, hey, you're not allowed to use this word. You're not allowed to identify under this term?
If you're going to be out there, you're going to be representing Satanism, and you're going to say that you're speaking for the religion. Now, Doug may have not been, I'm not convicting him of saying this. Okay, what I'm saying is there are spokespeople for his church saying that they are the spokespeople for the religion. Then it's up to him to clean up those people as I clean up the people. That's why when my church was set up, I set it up as a soul church.
Okay.
I have a board which does make decisions for financial things, but when it comes to doctrines, they expect me to be the standalone spokesperson because they know I know what I'm talking about. That's not me beating my chest or beating his ego. But what I was saying is he has spokespeople out there speaking on his behalf, stating that they're speaking for the religion, they're speaking for all Satanists, even theistic Satanists, and he needs to police these people. I mean, that's what I guess.
I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have time to go through and route out everybody who wants to claim that they're speaking on behalf of them.
If you don't have time to be in a religion, then don't be in it.
No, what do you mean? Being in a religion is controlling everything anyone ever says about it? I mean, do you go through and address everyone who misrepresents Satanism, your theistic Satanism?
I do as much as I can.
But you don't get everyone, do you?
I can't get everyone.
You can't get everyone. That's my point. That's my point.
I don't have spokespeople claiming to be.
Okay, how do you know they're actually legitimate spokespeople? How do you know they're not just saying that?
But here's the thing: it's not up to me to police. It's not up for me to police that. I police my own church. Okay, to ensure that those people are not.
Okay, you're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying you can't control what people are going to say. You can't control what people are going to claim. I mean, people claim things all the time that aren't true. You know, and it's kind of up to the person reading or listening to find out whether it's legitimate what they're reading or what's being said. Maybe the things you've heard people saying as representatives of the temple or Satanic Temple, maybe they aren't really representatives. Maybe they aren't really spokespeople.
Well, maybe it's all just a lie. Everybody's lying. I mean,
people lie. Surprise. People.
Everyone's just lying. Maybe they're all just lying. Maybe they're all just flying spaghetti monsters for spokespeople.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe everybody's just lying out there. Maybe I have
people lie. I mean, I'm sorry that didn't make it that way. Just waited.
Shows otherwise, but again, I'm not just going to give those to anybody. I'm not going to take and throw my cards on the table. I have things that were written, things that have emails from people. Maybe all those were made up.
Maybe. Could be.
I didn't make them up, but maybe I have the ideas out.
There you go. That's my point.
Yeah, but there are spokespeople who are out there that are stating that we're actually doing something for theistic Satanism, where maybe Doug needs to start doing something more than just running his mouth on TV about things that deal with atheism and trying to call it Satanism. Maybe he needs to police some things in his own wanting to be part of Satanism. Maybe he needs to get in there and get dirty, like I have to. Not with him, but with other people.
And instead of just trying to be part-timer and involved in it, then if he wants to be some kind of high-looking looking speak for the religion, then he stands dirty like I do.
Okay, I don't think you're being really fair. I don't think that you're being. You're not.
I'm not a fair person. If you're misrepresenting, which I found out he's misrepresenting,
okay, it's very, Tom,
I'm going to be the first person to pull a sword or dagger and be glad it ain't the medieval times, because people's blood would be on the ground.
Well, I'm glad we have evolved from that, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then that's not kind of
nobody.
Kind of a point.
You don't do the deity. You don't do religion any justice being in prison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I mean that's maybe how we evolved. But I mean, in Satan, to somebody who really believes in Satan, we don't tolerate disrespect of him. Okay, whether that be T.R. Gilmore or Doug, whatever his name is going to be. I know his real name, and I can't remember. I have to write it down. Messner or whatever, Malenko, whatever. So, I mean, whatever he's representing of it, that's fine. So, I mean, the thing is we don't want him running around doing this. I mean, we really don't.
Okay, and you're entitled to say that you don't like it. I mean, nobody is.
And, and the first thing, if I had an opportunity to speak to him and say, when are you going to recant? And, I've had people approach him. He's had conversations about the same subject you and I did many times with other people, okay? I don't know how well you know him. You obviously know him better than I ever would. But there's been
I've done my research on both you and him.
Okay.
Because I like to know who I'm talking to.
Right. There's been conversations between people and him, and I have copies of those conversations where he acts all aloof, refuses to discuss it, et cetera, They've been asking him about it. When are you going to recant, Doug, this story? When are you going to talk about Adam Daniels? Whatever. If nobody's not going to say anything, I'm damn sure going to make sure that light comes down on him.
Okay, well, you're allowed to do that. You're entitled to do that.
He needs to own his words. A real man owns their words. I own all the words that I say. I don't recant nothing. I exchange positions, yes. Every time I own those exact words.
I mean, I'm not saying that you don't, but I'm saying from what I've read and what I've listened to, he's done some work too. I mean, he's doing these interviews can't be easy. He's done a zillion of them. He's all over the place.
He's probably done 3 times as many as I have. I don't hate him on it. Good for him. But don't misrepresent. I mean,
he's not misrepresenting, Tom. That's the point. He's okay. He's not misrepresenting anything because he's been clear. He's not claiming to be anything that he's not. I mean, the Satanic Temple is not claiming to be theistic Satanists. For you to have a problem with them on that basis is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
Only in Satanism. It's not ridiculous. Only in Satanism.
It is ridiculous because you are blaming them for being theistic Satanists when they're not. You're holding them. You're saying they're theistic Satanists and holding them accountable to your expectations of theistic Satanism, and they don't even subscribe to the same belief system. They're not even the same thing. They're 2 totally different things. It's like saying an atheist and a Christian are the same things.
Then let me ask you this then. Okay, if your point would be valid, again, I can see we're different in opinion. I guess we're going to have to agree.
We can agree to disagree on that. That's fine, but go ahead.
Why are people who are from the theologian communities that I know that are involved in the ancient medieval faith, why are they screaming at me from the top of their lungs to try to put a fucking boot on this guy's head on the idea of that he's not speaking for all of Satanism? Are all these people stupid?
I think people are generally, to be honest, I think people are just fucking stupid and they don't get it most times, is my experience. They just don't get it and they don't understand it. And I mean, I understand that there's problems and people are maybe misunderstanding it and thinking that there's a claim to be representing Satanism, but it's just simply not true. I mean, anyone who does any research or looks into it at all, it's very simple to figure out the difference. There's a vast difference between your position and the Satanic Temple or Doug or whoever you want to say. There's a big difference between the two. It's clear that the agree to disagree kind of needs to apply to this disagreement that you're having now. I mean, there's two totally different things. And if people are yelling at you, I guess maybe you need to educate them a little bit because they seem like they're not very educated on the subject. I mean, it's easy to do a blog search, a Google search, and figure out that there's no claim to be representing Satanism. The Satanic Temple is representing itself and doesn't claim to be representing anybody else that I've seen at all.
Okay, right. And you know what? Then I guess then maybe there's secret street names that are running around out there. They're trying to poke at people to piss people off.
Yeah, you know what? That could very well be. They're called trolls.
But I mean, they're representing themselves as whatever from the Satanic Temple.
Yeah, they need to stop doing that.
Just as people misrepresented my church before, but you know what I did? I cleaned house with them the best I could.
Well, yeah, but you can't control everyone. I mean, obviously, you even admitted you can't get everyone. There's no time to get everyone.
That's correct.
You know? So you can just do the best you can do.
But when I was tied in with a sex offender and I had association with it, I made a public statement, got rid of that person.
But that's you. So I don't know. Let's I gotta go. But
no problem. No problem.
Can I contact you again later on other subjects, maybe?
Yeah. Please do. I mean, like I said, I don't have a problem. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm always under the spectrum from everybody in the Satanic community. They're like, hey, this dude's talking about Satanism. He's trying to say, granted, it could be a lot of, suspect of this and suspect of that. And like I said, I really don't know what I would say, Doug, other than, if I were to say, Doug, if you brought a measure right now, I'd say, hey, why are you putting up Levy's representation? Yeah. Just put up a symbol or put up something else. I know everybody's going to bitch about symbols.
I know. I was going to say, is there anything that could be put up that would represent all of Satanism? I don't think there is there?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. You could put up a historical symbol of some kind, maybe something that looks like the Ten Commandments or something. Something like that.
It's kind of vague.
Yeah, something vague, neutral. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Something with a neutrality.
I don't know, but what would it be? I mean, it's easy to say you could put up something, but I don't know what it would be. I couldn't imagine what would make everyone happy because it's kind of like trying to make a pizza that everybody likes,
Yeah, I mean, it is. And you're absolutely right. Not everybody's going to eat the same flavor, right?
Yeah.
You could put up just something neutral. I mean, this is the thing. You could take from many parts of the religion instead of just...
Wouldn't he be kind of doing what you have a problem with then? He would be trying to represent all of Satanism, and he doesn't want to do that because he doesn't want to claim to own all of Satanism? It's kind of a catch-22, right?
Put up the big A symbol for atheists.
And all the atheists are going to do that, probably. I think they got the flying spaghetti monster there.
I mean, if they would, let's hope. I mean, look, they took them 5 years to raise $25,000 for the cancer fund.
Okay, well, I got to go. Thanks for your time, though, Tom.
I appreciate it. I got to run, too. I'm getting into an area where I'm a little bit weak on signal. So, stay in touch. Like I said, please contact me.
Thanks.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
No problem.
Now, I recorded this once already. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, Tom didn't seem to learn a fucking thing. I'm looking at a blog that he posted today, and it's titled Satanic Temple Breaking News, Sexual Offender Connections and Hate Connections Proven. The problem is, he doesn't prove shit. There's some bullshit about him belonging to the same group as Adam Daniels, which doesn't prove anything except for they both belong to the same group. I mean, really? I'm glad that you aren't a detective. And you certainly aren't one. Let me see, what else does it say here? It says, this is a good part here. Here we go. And I don't know what's up with the quotation marks, Tom, but stop it. Let's see. So, does he really care about criminals? I think he thinks he is above all this. He has remained conveniently silent, covering up his own plagiarism and allegations of deceiving the public. How is he covering anything up by remaining silent? How is he deceiving the public by remaining silent? That's not covering anything up by remaining silent. I mean, it's just not talking about it. And besides that, let me bring up the point that at the beginning of this podcast, I cleared this stuff up, okay? I cleared it all up, and everything that everything you wrote here, it's gossip is what it is. What you should be doing as a career is writing for daytime soap operas. That's what I suggest you do next. You still have those, right? That, or maybe you can find, I don't know, a cartoon series or something to do a voice for or something. I don't know. What pisses me off is that when you make an attempt to be civil with someone and you try and discuss issues with them like an adult and they refuse to be an adult. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised considering if you listen to the interview that I did with him, how little he understands about very basic, simple concepts like what the difference between theism and atheism. I mean, it's only fucking one letter. How hard is that to grasp? You know? You'd think you'd be able to get it. And when you have to go to this length to start talking shit about people being alcoholics and you know, really, it's kind of a cheap shot. I mean, you're going to say that anyone who's an alcoholic now, you can't. I mean, fuck, Tom. If we took all your criteria for dealing with people and judge people based on your criteria, nobody in the fucking world would talk to anybody else because nobody's an angel, including you, Tom. I don't give a fuck what you say. You know, give us all a break and shut up. I tried to be nice, but sometimes nice doesn't work. So I guess we'll just leave this be and see what happens in the future and address it as it comes. But I really don't. If you want to be an idiot, Tom, that's fine. You be an idiot, and then I'll point it out every time. I don't know if I have time. I take that back. I don't know if I have time to point it out every time you do it, but I'll point it out as often as I can find the time to do it. I'll make it a hobby. How about that? All right. Now, I want to thank Monika Gottindottir, and I want to thank Madeline for hanging out and being part of the podcast. It was very enjoyable to have those two on. I especially appreciate Monika taking care of the book suggestions because she did it on short notice, and she did an excellent job. So thank you. And I want to thank you for listening, and I want to thank you ahead of time for sharing the podcast with anyone and everyone. All right? Yeah. Keep that reach. We got to keep that reach going because, you're only going to hear common sense here. You're not going to hear bullshit. You're not going to hear gossip. You're not going to hear magical stories. Like I said in the first podcast, we're going to talk about facts and logic here. That's the way it's going to be. And there isn't a single son of a bitch on the planet can do anything about it. There. And I don't want to wrap up on a negative note, so let's all join hands and sing a little song, okay? Hail Satan. See you in a couple weeks.